Hey everybody, I wanted to take a few minutes to explain what you need to do to complete week 3, assignment 1, sentence fragments and run-ons and comma splices. Can be a little bit of a confusing assignment at first, so I really hope everyone watches this video and listens to the full explanation. This is what you will see when you underneath this video, everything that we're looking at right here. It's going to tell you that you need to review chapters 21 and 22. You can if you want. But more importantly, you're going to want to take a look at the lessons on useful words for grammar and mechanics, sentence fragments, and run-ons and comma splices, all three of which are here in the week 3 module. Right? This is going to be a text submission assignment, meaning you don't have to download a file, you don't have to upload a file. You're going to type your response, your answers into the text box. What I would like you to do though is, starting here with part 1, I want you to highlight the entire assignment, right? You don't have to do the evaluation criteria. If you do, it's no big deal. I want you to highlight all of it, right click, copy, go down to your text box, right click, paste, right? And then fill in the answers in the text box. That way, you don't have to keep coming back up here to these questions, these instructions from the text box. That can get, a little tedious. And it's easy to sort of lose your place when you do that. But if you copy and paste the whole thing into that text box, then you have everything you need right there in the text box to mark your answers and make your corrections, right? Okay, now, what are you actually going to be doing? So part 1 is on sentence fragments. Again, we learned about that in one of the lessons this week. And we spent a little time practicing with groups of sentences where one of the sentences was a sentence fragment. And we worked on figuring out which one that was and then how to fix it. And that's what you're going to be doing here in part 1. So you can see the example here. An electric eel can produce a shock of over 600 volts, more than enough power to kill a full-grown human. The eel uses this power as radar to find live food. So step 1 is to underline or highlight the sentence fragment, just like I've done here. If you underline it, that's okay. It doesn't have to be highlighted. Just mark the fragment. Tell me which sentence is actually a sentence fragment. There will only be one sentence fragment in each set, so there should only be one underlined or highlighted sentence in each set. Once you have completed that step, you'll move on to step 2, which is to actually correct it. An electric eel can produce a shock of over 600 volts, comma, more than enough power to kill a full-grown human. The eel uses this power as radar to find live food. This was an easy fix. This was just a phrase that got sort of left out there by itself, but it should have been connected to this sentence right here. That's what it goes with. 600 volts is more than enough power to kill a full-grown human. So we just needed to connect it to that sentence instead of tacking it on after the fact and trying to make it be a complete sentence of its own, because it's not. Most of these are going to be quick fixes like that. The trick is to make sure that you have identified the correct thing as the sentence fragment, and then that you have connected it to the appropriate surrounding sentence. It might be the sentence that comes before it. It might be the sentence that comes after it. You may choose to just go ahead and make it a complete sentence. And that's okay. You can do that if it makes more sense to you, if it sounds better. But it's not a hard thing to fix, but you do need to fix it. So make sure that you are completing step 1 and step 2 for each set. First, identify the fragment by either underlining it or highlighting it. There will only be one in each set. And then correct it, right? So you've got 3 of those, right? So set 1, set 2, and set 3. Part 2 is on run-on sentences and comma splices. So we have an example here of a run-on sentence. Fear can prevent a person from acting. Hate, on the other hand, will often cause action. So this is where we have the first sentence here. Fear can prevent a person from acting. Hate, on the other hand, will often cause action. So this first sentence ran right into the second sentence. Don't let these commas fool you. These are not comma splices. The first sentence ends here. These commas are just being used to set off this conjunctive adverb, on the other hand. Right? So, fear can prevent a person from acting. We used a semicolon here. Hate, on the other hand, will often cause action. Again, remember, what you do not want to do is simply add in a comma, because then you have a comma splice. I got a speeding ticket last week. The cost of my insurance will probably go up. I got a speeding ticket last week. That's a complete sentence. The cost of my insurance will probably go up. That is another complete sentence. We tried to connect them by simply using a comma all by itself, but that is not strong enough. That's a comma splice. So we need to fix it. I got a speeding ticket last week, so the cost of my insurance will probably go up. Right? So what you're doing here in these 7 sets is you are going to fix the run-on sentence or comma splice. Some of them are straight run-on sentences where sentence 1 runs right into sentence 2. Some of them are comma splices where we tried to separate sentence 1 from sentence 2 with just a comma. All of these are wrong. All 7 of them are incorrect, because remember, a comma splice is just a special type of run-on sentence. So you want to fix each one, making sure that when you are dealing with what is originally just a straight run-on sentence, that you aren't then creating a comma splice. Don't just put a comma. Okay? Go back and review that lesson if you're still unsure of this. Reach out to me if you're still unsure of this. Okay? Last thing, as you're making the corrections to these 7 run-on sentences and comma splices, I would like you to use each of the 4 methods of correction at least once. So that means creating 2 separate sentences, putting a period at the end of the first, capitalizing the first letter of the first word of the next. Use that at least once. Use a semicolon at least once. Use a comma with a coordinating conjunction at least once. And use a subordinating conjunction to make one of the sentences a dependent clause that is connected to the complete sentence. I went over all 4 of those methods in the lesson. You can go back and look at the handout for a refresher. Watch the video again if you need to, right? But that's what we're doing here. Good practice here. All right, I will, of course, be giving you feedback on this. You know, it's okay if you get some wrong. You get graded based on effort. But the harder you try at this, the more seriously you take it, the more you're going to be able to see with, you know, if there's anything that you still need help with. And I'll be able to see that too. But don't stress out too much about it. Try your best, and then we'll go from there if it looks like you need some extra help on either of these types of errors. All right, let's try to have that in by Sunday night. If you have questions or run into problems, let me know.